Hare Krishna. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. It's great to be back. Today, we visited the Toṭā Gopīnātha temple, and I'll say more about it when a few more devotees get here. But to start, for auspiciousness, please turn to page 177 for the Vignapti Pañca. These are beautiful prayers that you can learn as a preamble to your worship. And the translations go as follows before we chant the Sanskrit together. O Purushottam, no sinner or offender is as bad as I am, nor can I describe my shame. Just as the minds of young ladies take pleasure in a young man, and the minds of young men take pleasure in a young woman, kindly let my mind take pleasure in you alone. Just as the ground is the only support for those whose feet have slipped, you alone are the only shelter for those who have offended you. O Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, O beloved of Lord Govinda, this is my request. May you and Lord Govinda consider me one of your assistants. O Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, Queen of Vrindavan, you are a river flowing with the nectar of mercy. Please be kind to me and give me a little service at your lotus feet. Matsamo nasti papatma naparadi chakaschana harihare pilajame kimbruve purushottama yavatinam yata yuni yunam cha yuvatal yata mano birambate tadvam mano me ramatam tvayi bhumau skalita paranam bhumireva valambanam tvayi jata paranam nameva sharanam prabhu Govinda balabe radhe prate tvam hamsada Twadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvaya saha Radhe vrindavanadishe Karuna mrittavahini Kripaya nijapadabja Jasyamayam pradiyatam Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadādhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And next we'll pay our tax. So turn to the Bhagavad Gita. I met a godbrother in Mayapur a couple of years ago. I hadn't seen in a long time. Famous Kirtaniya. And we talked for 10 minutes. And he said, every day I pay my tax. As soon as I wake up, I chant my rounds immediately before I do anything else, because I don't feel I have the right to do anything else before I pay my tax. So, Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita this principle of Yagya. And if we realize how we're being nourished and what is the most uplifting of all activities, it comes under the heading of Yagya, finding those connections with Krishna on a daily basis. And in experiments, I've heard that if you put a frog in a pan that's hot, he'll just jump out. But if you turn it up slowly, then he'll get a nice warm bath. And that's my version. And in a similar way, if we can become steady in certain practices and then add a little more, and turn up the Yagya in our lives. Then we come to a place where our whole life is Yagya. Krishna always makes a space for Yagya, and if we try to expand it, then he gives us more facility. Yoga kshamam bahamyaham, carries what we lack and preserve what we have. I can remember a time I had a business for 10 years, and I remember the last phone call I ever made. And during the phone call, I was thinking, I'm never going to make another phone call like this again, ever. It just enveloped me. The whole idea came through my body. It was palpable. I said, that's it. Halfway through, and I thought, I'll finish the call, but that's it. I'm not going to divert my attention again to something else, sell something that's not related to the Bhagavatam. And afterwards, I just felt it's over. And Krishna will give us that facility. I'm not saying, well, I'll just leave it at that. What I am saying is, it's a wedge principle. When we make a pledge to increase our yagya, no matter how small it is, in fact, smaller the better, that small end that we introduce, that small sacrifice that we introduce, and then stay consistent with over time, opens up a larger facility for us in our lives. So, one of the top picks of all time for all is reading Bhagavad Gita every day. And I'm looking for which page it's on. Thank you. And I'm hoping that over the next few days and maybe over the next 10 days, how much ever time we have, that we can put a check mark by everything in this book and have finished it. Can somebody keep track? Okay. Page number 336. There is no 336. 330. We're chanting the Bhagavad Gita. It's really a shame that I can't find it. See the English. I see 10th canto. We're starting up at text number 23 on page number 333. What? It's what we do every day. It's a repertory process. We already did the first half of 11 last month, and now we've moved on. And we did the English yesterday, so I thought we'd chant the Sanskrit together, starting on page 333 at text number 23. Fair enough? Yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Everybody has to move up. Orders coming from the back. 7.2 inches. If you see white space in front of you, unless it's somebody's kurta, then move up. Please. Hamsadwani, do the Hamsadwani. To add to our tax payment, I'm going to include hearing Prabhupada's purports. Because a day without Prabhupada's purports is a day lost, leaving one forlorn and confused. And yesterday, if I'm not incorrect, we were in the first canto, 5th chapter, and we got up to text number 10. Is that correct? I'm going to read a few more of these verses because nobody can stop us at this point, it seems. We're free to do whatever we want. Tadvag visargo janatag viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abadyavat yapi. Namanyanantasya shonkitani yat shinvanti gayanti grananti sadhava. Here's the synonyms. Tat, that. Vak, vocabulary. Visarga, creation. Janata, the people in general. Aga, sins. Viplava, revolutionary. Yasmin, in which prati shlokam, each and every stanza. Abadhavati, irregularly composed. Api, in spite of namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord. Yashaha, glories. Ankitani, depicted. Yat, what? Shrinvanti, do hear. Gayanti, do sing. Grananti, do accept. Sadhava, the purified men who are honest. Let's read the translation together. And commas and any other punctuation counts. That way we can stay together. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. And Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best, even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of any ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend, China, has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted, and simple. And there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly, there's no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there's propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, pardon me, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is a fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is a rule of this age of Kali, or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature, yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. The people in general want to read. That is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. For it is recommended by such an authority as Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. 12. Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam Nashobate jnanamalam niranjanam, kutakmuna shashvada bhadramishvare, nacharpitam karma yadapyakaranam. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? Would you like to hear the purport? Yes. That's a healthy sign. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work, which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work in which almost all people in general are engaged is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord, otherwise it leads to material bondage. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead. And thus, when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble. 13. Ato Mahabha Bhavana Mogadrik Shuchi Shrava Satyarato Dritavrata Arukramasya Kilabanda Muktaye Samadhina Nusmara Tadvacheshtitam. O Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness, and thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. Purport. People in general have a taste for literatures by instinct. They want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown, but their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which are full of subject matter for satisfaction of the material senses. Such literatures contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men. Thus, the attracted living entities are more and more entangled in material bondage without hope of liberation for thousands and thousands of generations. Sri Narada Rishi, being the best amongst the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures, and thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature, which is not only attractive, but can also actually bring liberation from all kinds of bondage. Srila Vyasadeva or his representatives are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel informations every day, and the transcendentalists like Vyasadeva and Narada can supply such eager people in general with unlimited news from the spiritual world. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation, and that this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. There are thousands and thousands of literary men all over the world, and they have created many, many thousands of literary works for the information of the people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility on the earth. This is due to a spiritual vacuum in those literatures. Therefore, the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, are specifically recommended to suffering humanity to bring about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of human energy. The Bhagavad Gita is the spoken message of the Lord himself, recorded by Vyasadeva. And the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the transcendental narration of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of the living being for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, therefore, is meant for all the living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Such transcendental narrations of the pastimes of the Lord can be described only by liberated souls like Vyasadeva and his bona fide representatives who are completely merged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Only to such devotees do the pastimes of the Lord and their transcendental nature become automatically manifest by dint of devotional service. No one else can either know or describe the acts of the Lord, even if they speculate on the subject for many, many years. The descriptions of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Such liberated persons as Vyasadeva are perfect not only by the power of vision and wisdom, but also in oral reception, in thinking, feeling, and all other sense activities. A liberated person possesses perfect senses, and with perfect senses only can one serve the sense proprietor, Hrishikesh, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, therefore, is the perfect description of the all-perfect personality of Godhead by the all-perfect personality, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas. Before our discussion, I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the previous acharyas, and all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpataruscha kripa sundave evacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And in the place we were today, Toṭā Gopīnātha, affectionately known as the Toṭā Gopīnātha, because Tota means garden. And Caitanya Mahāprabhu used to meet with Gadādhara Paṇḍita there daily to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as revealed in the Caitanya-bhāgavata. Caitanya Mahāprabhu himself had some difficulty in reading the Bhagavat. Does anybody remember what it was? Too many tears. He destroyed his own copy from the tears. Same with doing any kind of pūjā. And Gadādhara Paṇḍita is the internal potency of the Lord in the Pañca-tattva. He's Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. And Caitanya Mahāprabhu met there at that garden regularly to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Gadādhara Paṇḍita. This is an indication of the eternal pastime of the Lord, which is to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in association with devotees. It's also one of the 5 most recommended out of 64 items of devotional service, is to find a Tota somewhere. In fact, it's necessary because we may find, I find, that most places are fraught with distraction. If you go to Vrindavan, for instance, during festival times, and you walk from one end of the property to the other to get to your apartment, you'll be stopped by no less than 10 people saying, "Hey, You still doing that stuff and the thing? And it takes a while. And what's more, someone may come rapping at your door at any time, day or night, with a delivery or a question or something like that. So finding a secluded place like Caitanya Mahāprabhu repaired to the garden with Gadādhara Paṇḍita and steadily hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam over a long time is medicinal. In fact, we find in our experimentation with this technique, in the way of emulating Caitanya Mahāprabhu and Gadādhara Paṇḍita, going to a place in Govardhan Hill we found where most people don't make it out of the orbit of Vrindavan, so it's hard to get out there to Govardhan. And it's a gated community, so you only come through the gate if you have a purpose there. And taking time to just hear the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's purports. It's as if there's a hologram in the room where Prabhupada's personally manifesting and Krishna's personally manifesting. And Srila Prabhupada referred to it just now when he thanked Sri Narada for kindly appearing in the chapter. This is not hyperbole or imagination. It's the truth. The transcendental personalities are present in the sound vibration. And how much medicine does one need to overcome the anarthas that plague one? A lot. And therefore, it's an important activity, finding time with one's family or those who are interested. The directive for hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is one should meet with like-minded devotees. It means they also want to hear. It's annoying if somebody comes and doesn't want to hear, and then they seem restless or they fall asleep during the process. Of course, if somebody has jet lag and they just landed, that's understandable, and we consider them noble for trying to stay awake after that, because it's almost like an intravenous drug when you're affected by jet lag, and bless their hearts. But the fact is that when there are like-minded devotees hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there's a transformation of heart that takes place. And where else can one achieve that? Only through Bhagavatam and chanting Hare Krishna. The transcendental sound vibration comes into the ear. Pravishtakarna randrena, swanam bhavam, saroruham. The Bhagavatam poetically describes in dozens and dozens of verses the transformative nature. Pravishtakarna means that the sound vibration enters into the ear. Pravishtakarna, and then from there it goes into the heart. Saroruham, and Krishna takes his residence there just from hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Shall we say it? Pravishtakarna randrena, swanam bhavam saroruham. What's the third line? Dhunoti shamalam Krishna, salilasya yata sharat. So the verse says that it's Shukadev. He's saying how autumnal rains, they're very special. And in the rainy season, when the rains come, the waters become muddy because it's a deluge. Whereas autumnal rains magically make the water clear. Now, if you were going to go around and make all the water clear, you could go to the market and get some alum. You know what alum is? Yes. That's amazing. They're all chemical engineers. Alum coagulates particulate matter in the water and it collects at the bottom. But you'd be hard put to purify all of the waterways with your little bit of alum. However, the autumnal rains handily do such a chore, clean everything up. And so there's Salilasya Yata Sharat. In Sharat, in the autumn season, there's the rain which cleans all the waterways. And so this verse talks about the ways in which hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from pure devotees is medicinal, not for just oneself, but for the whole world. A person who has established an altar on his or her heart and put the deity there, then can purify the whole population of the world. You see what Prabhupada did, and is still doing, because he was so intelligent to set up everything so it would continue. Pravishta karna randrena, swanam bhavam saroham. There's an emotional awakening, and the Lord is established on the throne of the heart. So if we hear in the association of those who are called satam, another verse, satam prasangam mama virya sambido bhavanti hrit karna rasayanakata taj joshanad asho pavargavartmani shradaratir bhaktir anukramashruti. This is Kapila speaking to Devahuti, and says that you should associate with those who are eager to hear. They're sincere. Satam. Prasangam, that's real association. Mama virya sambido. And in that kind of association, real association means you're hearing Bhagavatam. And from that, Vavanti hrit karna rasayana kata. Rasayana means a medicinal dose. And so it acts as a medicinal dose. Again, it goes in the ear, enters within the heart. Everything goes like that, into the heart. Whatever goes in here ends up in here. Touch Joshan at Ashu Pavargavartmani. Very quickly, one can clear up misgivings within the heart and reverse one's trajectory, because the trajectory in the material world, of course, there's three levels, or there's three trajectories in the world. It's Urdvam Gachanti Sattvasta. What? Oh, I thought you were correcting me on the first line. Did I get it wrong? Okay, then we can do it together. Urvam Gachanti Sattvasta, Madhyam Tishtanti Rajasa, Jaganya Guna Vrittista, Adoga Chanti Tamasa. What a beautiful verse. It just shows how practical Krishna is. He puts it in such a clear way that he says if you're cultivating mode of goodness, then you'll go upwards in the material world. And if you're cultivating rajas, scrolling, you're going to stay in the middle, which is really a bummer. I hate the middle. And then Adoga Chanti Tamasa, Jaganya means the horrible, ghastly, not ghastly, but disgusting mode of ignorance. It's absolutely disgusting. Jaganya Guna, this mode is horrible. Jaguna Vrittista Ado Gachanti Tamasa. You associate with tamas and you'll be dragged down and wonder what hit you and how you got so low. Or you may not even wonder. You might just be caught there and everyone else is aghast at how degraded you've become. You don't even know it because you're covered by the modes of material nature. There's a thought. So how does one turn that around? How does one even break away from the mode of goodness? It's by the hearing the transcendental sound vibration. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo. Viplavo means to flip something. It's a revolution. Like you flip over a boat, it's a viplava. And so in a similar way, if you want to flip your life around, then you have to hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And in the verse we're discussing, Satam prasangam viri sambido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata, the medicine goes in, touch joshanad ashu pavargavartmani, then one changes one's path. You're no longer caught in these three modes, but you take to the path of apavarga, which means go straight back to the spiritual world. And don't get caught in pa, pa, ba, ba, ma, which I won't explain because it's family hour. And it's too drastic to talk about. And if you want to make spiritual advancement, everyone says, well, how to make spiritual advancement? He says, anukramashruti, step by step it'll happen. by the power of taking these medicinal doses. And as Shraddha, Ratir, Bhakti, means your faith will become thick, and then there's a sense of loving the Lord, and then Bhakti, full-blown result of Bhakti will come just by hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Caitanya Mahāprabhu showed this practically, to go and sit in the Tota with Gadādhara Paṇḍita and hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And one day, Gadādhara Paṇḍita, speaking to Caitanya Mahāprabhu, said that, I think that my mantra has been corrupted. Now, he meant the Diksha mantra. You remember who he took Diksha from? What? Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Do you remember how he took initiation from him, or why? It was because Mukunda one day came to the assembly of devotees, and Gadādhara Paṇḍita was a pure soul from the very beginning. And Mukunda, knowing the answer, said to Gadādhara, would you like to meet a Mahabhagavata? And what was his answer? Of course. Let's go right away. So Mukunda took him to the residence of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who Caitanya Mahāprabhu had pined for and predicted the appearance of, because in Krishna Lila, he's the father of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. And he would call out, Pundarik, oh Pundarik, and the devotees didn't know who he was talking about. So then he came to town, this is in Mayapur, and Mukunda knew him and took Gadādhara Paṇḍita to the residence, opulent residence of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who looked like a prince. And when they went in to see him, he was surrounded by servants. He was reclined on an opulent bedstead with filigree. There were lamps, and there were jewels, and his hair was perfect. Curly, black, oiled. And as he lay there, it's as if he was saying, I am lucky, laying back in the opulence of his palace-like home. And as the author of Caitanya-bhāgavata reveals to us, as soon as Gadādhara Paṇḍita came into the environment and saw Pundarik Vidyanidhi, a doubt came into his mind. And he thought, this is a Mahabhagavat? Interestingly, Mukunda could detect this. And he also knew what reaction Pundarik Vidyanidhi would have to hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Therefore, Mukunda, standing in the room, the presence of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Gadādhara Paṇḍita then uttered a verse from the third canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Aho bhakiyam stanaka lakutam jikamsaya payat apyasadvi. This is a verse about Baki, sister of Bakasura, Baki. Aho bhakiyam stanaka lakutam. And said, who would take shelter of anyone else in this world except Krishna, because he's so merciful, that Putana came to poison him, and he delivered her. He gave her vimukti, liberation as an associate in the spiritual world. Inconceivable. Aho means what? Aho bhakiyam stanakalukam kutam jighamsaya payad apyasadvi. Lebe gatim datruchitam tatonyam kambadayan lum sharanam brajema. Said, kamba, that's a question. Who would take shelter of anybody else? And as soon as Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this, he went to pieces. It was a spontaneous, drastic reaction that happens for those who are absorbed in prema. And as described by the author of Vrindavan Das Thakur, he began to thrash the room with his arms and legs. No one could hold him down, even all his servants, breaking all the expensive bedstead, filigree, lamps. Nothing was spared in the whole room. His hair had gone haywire. As he twisted and turned, the bed sheets were awry in every direction. And finally, he went into a deep trance of devotion and didn't move for hours. Gadādhara thought, I'm an aparadhi. In my mind, I thought he was a materialist just by seeing him, and now I know I made an offense. I made an offense. I made an offense. He couldn't stop thinking that. And on the way home with Mukunda, he said to Mukunda, I made such an offense to such an advanced devotee. I must take initiation from him. They went to Caitanya Mahāprabhu and told him of the event. And Mahaprabhu said, do it immediately. He had taken Diksha from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. But this is interesting, this is in the Caitanya Charitamrita, this next part, where Gadādhara Paṇḍita says to Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu that somehow my Diksha mantra has been corrupted, because when I chant it now, I no longer get a spurti. Spurti means the Lord appears. In fact, these mantras that we receive through the disciplic succession, they're sound deities for increasing our meditation on the Lord and coming closer. And also we use them in the worship of the Lord's form, attending to the deity, as mula mantras. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, did you reveal it to anyone? Have you talked about your Diksha mantra to other people? And Gadādhara Paṇḍita admits, yes, I did discuss it. And it's around that time that I began to lose sight of the potency of the mantra. And so Mahaprabhu said, then you have to take the mantra again. And Gadādhara Paṇḍita said, you please give it to me. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, that would be an offense. So you can only have one Diksha Guru. You can have many Shiksha Gurus, but one Diksha Guru gives you the mantra. So I said, you should go to Pundarik Vidyanidhi and have him re-speak the mantra to you. There's a lesson here. Chanakya Pandit says, don't tell people how much wealth you have. Let them figure it out themselves by your lifestyle. It's like, hey, how come you're always going here and there and everywhere? Must be able to afford it. And in a similar way, the Hari Bhakti Vilas talks about being careful not to publicly broadcast certain aspects of our devotional practice. Names 4 things. One is one's Ishtadev. Ishtadev means your ultimate object of meditation. Of course, it's Krishna. Well, I can't assume that. You might like Lord Ramachandra. But there are unlimited forms of Krishna, and people develop this sense of, this is my Krishna. Don't reveal it. He said, don't reveal your japa. Don't go around telling everybody, this is how many rounds I'm doing now. Said, don't reveal your guru. As if you go around telling everybody who your guru is, you're going to meet somebody who's envious, and then they'll criticize, and then it'll diminish your faith. So be careful. This is the admonition. And your Diksha mantra. That's why the very early devotees in the movement received a sheet of paper with the mantras on it, and they received from Prabhupada. It says at the back, on the very top, does it not? Do not share this with anybody else. It's not to be talked about. It's a private mantra. Don't reveal it. Of course, if you tell somebody who your guru is or how many rounds you're chanting, it's not the end of the world, but there's a principle here that if you make a goal, for instance, to say you're going to write a book, and you go around telling everyone, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book, then you'll never write it. Because it takes the air out of your project. Because everyone will go, oh, that's amazing, you're writing a book? And some people say, oh, you can't write a book. But enough people will say, well, that's wonderful. I didn't know you were so smart. You could write a book. And then you'll be satisfied enough to procrastinate for another 3 months to 6 months because you got a little something out of it. Just write your book. Go into seclusion and let it come out. Talk to the people who are helping you publish it and let it come out. And there's a similar way with our devotional practices that we must be a little careful. Not boast, not tell everything that happens. To those who are confidential, Rupa Goswami says, Guhyam Akyati Prichati. Somebody who can understand you, you can understand them, and the envy principle isn't there. It's rare to find in this world, because the entire atmosphere of the world is enveloped by envy. And there's even amongst God's siblings, sibling rivalry and a sense of how did you get ahead of me kind of thing. So there's lots of etiquettes in order to quell that impulse. But if you can find somebody in the world that you can talk to openly and share, then whatever comes up, you can process. So, kuyamakyati prichati, but secretly, not to the whole world, and don't tell everybody exactly what you're doing. Don't reveal your mantra. Also mentioned, Prabhupada talks about when you reveal the identity of your revered gurus, whoever they may be, there should be some sense, some honorific, not just an acronym, a TKG, or what else do we have? JAS, and so forth. You'll notice that Prabhupada, when he mentions the names of his guru, he extends it. There's 108, Sri Śrīmad, and so forth. These are finer points of cultivating devotional service and maintaining decorum for one's own cultivation of devotional service. Toṭā Gopīnātha, the deity, is said to have been created by Lord Brahma. And the deity was not visible in the Tota until Lord Chaitanya, one day in ecstasy, hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, had been digging in the sandy soil. And he did this. This is also mentioned, you'll hear in Caitanya Charitamrita or the Caitanya-bhāgavata. He had a way of looking down at the ground, and sometimes with his fingers or nails, he would be pulling at the ground in a similar mood that the gopis were when Krishna had greeted them in the forest and said, he'd called them with his flute and then said, what are you guys doing here? And they were dejected, and it's described how they were using their fingers in the dirt and stuff to distract themselves. So in that digging, Caitanya Mahāprabhu had touched an object beneath the sand and then dug it up. And it was Gopīnātha, the beautiful lotus-eyed deity. And then he bequeathed that deity to Gadādhara Paṇḍita and asked him to attend that deity for the rest of his life. In fact, that was Gadādhara Paṇḍita's plan, because Caitanya Mahāprabhu had come there and Gadādhara Paṇḍita didn't want to be separated from him ever. And therefore he took Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas means you make a vow to stay in one dham and never leave. Something like Janadivas and Pañca-tattva. We all knew, right? In the 1970s when they were there, the twins, that they had vowed just to stay in Mayapur. Were you aware of that, Krishna Gadādhara? Everyone said it anyway. They'd taken Kshetra Sannyas, and Janadivas Prabhu, Pañca-tattva Prabhu passed away during the pandemic, but Janadivas has been there since time immemorial, worshiping the deities. Anyway, Gadādhara Paṇḍita had taken that vow. And then he was dismayed, to say the least, when Caitanya Mahāprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan and leave Jagannath Puri. He never imagined that he'd be leaving. And so he started following Caitanya Mahāprabhu out of the dham. Although he feigned that, I'm not really following you. I'm actually just happened to be walking in sort of the same direction. And Mahaprabhu kept turning to him and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? He said, I'm not following you. And after they had gone a sufficient distance, Caitanya Mahāprabhu said that this will bring disgrace. You've made the vow. You go back, worship Gopīnātha. Gadādhara Paṇḍita's mood was, to hell with my vow. I just want to be with you. That's why I made the vow. And Caitanya Mahāprabhu had this balance that he played all the time with attending to the decorum of society and the rules that were expected of sannyasis and interaction with devotees and so forth. At the same time, the devotees, out of spontaneous love, were always breaking those rules. And as described by the authors of Caitanya-bhāgavata, well, mostly of Caitanya Charitamrita, although Caitanya Mahāprabhu externally chastised the devotees, like we're going to Dandabhanga Gopīnātha, the place where Nityananda Prabhu, who Caitanya Mahāprabhu said, here, hold my danda, I'll be right back. When he came back, there was no danda. And then he said, where's my danda? And he said, you broke it. What do you, I broke it. You were in ecstasy. You fell on it, broke it. I threw in the river. And Nityananda Prabhu had thought, what does he need a danda for? He's a Paramahamsa. In the beginning of sannyas, the sannyasi will carry danda for a while, but at the Paramahamsa stage, there's no danda. He thought, why would he carry a danda? He even talked to the danda. What are you doing? Broke it up, threw it in the river. And Caitanya Mahāprabhu feigned anger. And so he said, I'm going to Jagannath Puri alone. You can go in front of me or behind me. He told that to his associates. He said, you're always disturbing my vows. It happened again and again. So Gadādhara Paṇḍita, after realizing that Caitanya Mahāprabhu was really leaving him to go to Vrindavan, fainted. And Sanatana Goswami was there at the time, who attended to Gadādhara. Caitanya Mahāprabhu got into a boat and just left. The author comments, who can understand the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So Toṭā Gopīnātha is such an unusual deity. Of course, there are many thoughts about why he's sitting, but I won't mention any of them because they're mostly aitya, things passed along. Some people say this or that, and I'm not going to say any of it because it's not really confirmed. Some of them don't add up. The fact is, it's a very unusual deity because he's sitting. And the other fact is that his eyes are lotus eyes. And we've seen devotees go there who are in a tentative state of practicing bhakti. And after seeing Gopinath's eyes, as if you go for Mangalartik, and I tell you what time Mangalartik is, but it's really hard to tell when they're going to have Mangalartik. You go there and sometimes you wait for an hour. But we've had personal experience with devotees coming there and seeing Gopinath's eyes. And then in sharing sessions later, some of them private, saying, changed my mind, I want to be a devotee. I saw Gopinath and I felt Krishna's presence like I've never felt before. So going to Toṭā Gopīnātha, we can remember Caitanya Mahāprabhu and Gadādhara Paṇḍita, the other devotees who went there. And Caitanya Mahāprabhu was said to have left the world by entering into Gopinath. There's a little line next to his knee. Said, yes, he entered into there, and he was gone. That's how he ended his pastimes in this world. An unpalatable subject matter for devotees. In such places, we can take practical lessons, and we can also feel the mood of those places when we go there. The Pujari was quite adamant about not taking pictures. Did you notice? You almost lost your camera. One of these fancy cameras, he was grabbing for it. They saw it coming in. It's like, give me that. And also, we usually demonstratively give a sizable donation, whatever temples we go to. It's a smart thing to do because temples, the mahants there appreciate that we just don't come in and go out and not give a donation. But when I gave him the donation today, the head Pujari, he kind of looked at me in a disgusted way, and he walked over to the hundi and he just dropped it in as if like, don't give it to me, you put it in the box, stupid. He's very serious about his bhajan. When we go there, for Mangalartik, they have some bhajans they do for about 20 minutes, half an hour before the curtains open, and then they open them successively. The other deities came later. Mamu Thakur was one of the great Vaishnavas who had installed other deities there. And it's hard to keep track of all the histories, although there are some sketches about what's happened there and so forth, but you feel the antiquity of these places, and you can see how time's moving along. That great devotees, in fact, the Lord himself will establish deities, and then time goes by. Sometimes the deities are not worshipped. They end up somewhere. For instance, when Madhavendra Puri found his deity, he was also in the ground. Right? He was in Vrindavan, and he was sitting chanting, and a little boy came to him and brought him some milk. He couldn't understand where the little boy had come from. And he told him, nobody fasts in our town. So he drank the milk, and he dozed a little bit, and in his light sleep, he had a dream where the Gopal deity had come to him and said, I'm here in the bush of Vrindavan. Please come rescue me. And he told him exactly where to go. So when the dream broke, he came to the residence there, and when we're in Vrindavan, we're going to go to that place where this happened. There's a little building there where they have a deity of Madhavendra Puri. the villagers brought machetes. They cut through the brush. They found the place directed by Madhavendra Puri, and they dug up the deity. Madhavendra Puri put the Gopal deity on Govardhan Hill, and then naturally people came out of spontaneous attraction and brought boga, cows, building materials. Then 2 pujaris came from Bengal by Krishna's arrangement. He liked them very much, so he engaged them. And then the deity told him in another dream, I'm too hot. I was in the ground too long. I need sandalwood. Where to get that? Way down south again. So he went to the great trouble of bringing sandalwood back, and we know that he ended up giving him to the Gopinath deity, Shir Chor Gopinath. But the mysterious ways in which the Lord appears to devotees, we can partake in. And I always remember when you go there, I think about Caitanya Mahāprabhu and Gadādhara Paṇḍita sitting and hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in that place. And I also think about some of the kirtans we used to have in the old days when we were all together, right? Do you remember what year? 78 was a big year for us to all go there. Huge kirtans inside the temple there. And unrestrained, because the environment is so saturated with the transcendental vibration. So these types of images of Gopinath or of the temple or of anything you saw today, even the brusque nature of the pujari stuck with me. It's a samskar. And all this we take away from the Dham. I just say also that the mode of worship, Vishnu Prabhu and I were talking on the way out of the temple. It's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 18 Thakur Godeyake Karyachina Atmasat, 18 Era Chanan Vandon Tine Mornat. That the Gaudiya Vaishnavas worship these 3 deities. Teen Mornat, three naths, are consume the hearts and souls of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And so this is their system. So we were discussing what is the system, and it's Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. And that's how Caitanya Mahāprabhu framed the Vedic process. It's all pointing towards these 3 stages. It's practical. It means there's an entry point. There's Madan Mohan, where we're going also. When the sun rises, we're going to have a kirtan there. Krishna willing, Krishna willing. And it's in the most iconic place in Vrindavan, the Madan Mohan temple, built by Sanatana Goswami. It's unsurpassed as far as where to be in the world at the right time, right place at the right time. It doesn't get any better than that, except for Toṭā Gopīnātha. And so Madan Mohan means that Madan rules the world. It means Cupid. Because everybody's attracted by Maya in this world and wants to enjoy. And the personified form of that impetus to enjoy is Madan, or Cupid figure. Of course, we know from the Manasa Charit that Madan tried to influence Lord Shiva. You know the story? Because demigods wanted to agitate Lord Shiva, so they sent Cupid there to disturb his mind. And Shiva was deep in meditation. Is there enough air in here? Oh, there is, okay. And when he came and shot his arrows, you know Cupid has arrows he shoots? Like Shiva's third eye opened, and he looked at Cupid, and he burned him to ashes. And that's why he's known as Ananga. He has no body. And now he's even more dangerous because you can't see him coming. But Lord Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as if you take millions and millions of cupids embodied in one form. Say it. Here, give him the mic, we'll sing it out. Rasanath knows all these verses. Go ahead. It's nice to have them all in there. And when you hear it, or you hear a concept, then it just comes out. That's real life. That's why you should dig as deeply as possible in all of Prabhupada's books. Go through the whole Bhagavad Gita again and again and again, and the most important parts of the Bhagavatam, and then try to just hear it over and over again so it becomes part of your psyche. Saturate. Go ahead.
Venum kvanantam aravindatalaya barhavatam zamasitam buddhasundarangam kandarpakotikamaniya vishesha shobham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami.
Can you say anything about the verse? Just the part about Kandarpakoti Kamaniya.
I was just responding to when you were saying millions of cupids.
That's Krishna's attractive force. And this is the idea of Madan Mohan. Everyone's attracted to Cupid here. And they try to get more attracted and be more attractive and pull themselves more into Maya. But Krishna, he attracts Cupid, and he's so attractive that no one can resist him. And so Madan Mohan is the deity of Sambandha Gyan, developing a relationship and being attracted away from the material world. Because, as we heard, the first Matsamona, second, not Matsamo Nasti Papa Manat Pradina Kashchana, Parihari Pilajame Kimbruve Purusha. Yivatinam Yuta Yuni. This is from Padyavali, right? Yuta. Yunam cha yuvatau yata mano biramate tadva mano me brahmatam tvai. As young boys are attracted to young girls, as I was told by the devotees who do oversee the traveling bus for youth, they told me once they had a mixed crowd and they all got out of the Grand Canyon, and none of them noticed they were at the Grand Canyon because they were absorbed in looking at each other. And therefore, noting this fact, Rupa Goswami wrote this verse, and he said, just as boys are spontaneously attracted to girls and vice versa in this world, he said, let me have that spontaneous kind of attraction for Krishna. And Madan Mohan can attract us. If we're grabbed by Madan Mohan and we develop a relationship that we're attracted to him, then we can resist the material world and the attractive forms of the world. And then Govinda means the senses. Go means senses. And that's practical application of the senses. It means abhideya. And in the activities of devotional service. And that leads to Gopīnātha, the Lord of the Gopis, the highest conception of Krishna who's engaged in Rasa Lila. So those are the three levels as mentioned, and the system that is meted out by the acharyas. Let's see if there's any reflections or questions.
Covered a lot of ground. It was very wonderful. Um, reading the 11th verse of the 5th chapter of the first canto. I think I have a new motto for New York City preaching, New York City Harinam. Our motto is to pick up the best from the worst. And I like that point about the techniques. I forget exactly what it was, but it's not so much we're interested in it. The Prabhupada's ability to make Krishna consciousness attractive and comfortable for people all over the world is just astounding. And we come here in India, and there's a type of kind of cultural, maybe kind of holding it, monopolization on the thing, maybe not such a broad-minded kind of application or even a desire to have that as much as someone like Srila Prabhupada does. And so I just reappreciate his great compassion and liberality. Some thought.
A godbrother was recently noting how whenever Prabhupada sang songs that include Lord Nityananda, the person's comment was, nobody sings like that about Lord Nityananda like Prabhupada does. There's a noticeable way that he's absorbed in that, and it's his mood of Lord Nityananda to break through, make a channel to bring the mercy out to everybody. And that sort of liberality is the mood of Lord Nityananda, to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity. He sees no fault. He's called a dosha darshi. When devotees hear about somebody, or I should rephrase that, when devotees hear about Lord Nityananda who sees no faults, I'll make a broad statement. Vishnu Gadādhara can tell me if it's true or not, because he's a psychologist, but most people are constrained by their own sense of ineptitude. Okay, I'll speak for myself. I feel constrained by my own sense of ineptitude. In fact, oftentimes people feel reticent to move forward on many things. They think maybe I can't do it. I'm so full of faults. And when it comes to devotional service, people often feel that I'm not qualified, I can't do this. But Lord Nityananda made everyone feel welcome. That was Prabhupada's mood, that he would inspire everybody. He'd elevate them. There's a letter in which, during a mini schism in ISKCON, of which there are many, we should write a schism book, coffee table book about schisms in ISKCON. Be an interesting study. There was a group, and humans do this, birds do it too, they flock together. And they thought, our guy is the best. And there's nobody more advanced than this person who's leading our little group within the entire Krishna consciousness movement. And Prabhupada was answering a letter from one of the followers of this person who was claiming that he was this person was besides Prabhupada, was the only pure devotee in ISKCON. So Prabhupada replies with a long list of other names of people. This one's a pure devotee, it's going back to Godhead. That one's going to go back to Godhead. This one's going to go back to Godhead, naming all kinds of people the person would have known. And then humorously, he puts in at the end, except for Mr. Nair, he won't be able to go back to Godhead. It reminds me of the verse I had alluded to the other day from the 7th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, first chapter, verses 31 to 33, in which it's a katamo pina vena syad, where it says, all these people got attracted. The gopis by their lusty feelings, Kamsa by his fear, then Shishupal and other envious kings because of their envy. They envied Krishna, so they were intensely absorbed in thinking of him. The Vrishnis, because of their affection. They said, because of their familial relationship with them. Then he said the Pandavas, because of your affection. And then Narada says, and we, the general devotees, because of our devotional service, we attain Krishna. But it says, except for King Vena, he's not going. He's not going anywhere because he was an atheist. He didn't think of God, or he didn't get mad at Krishna or anything. So he's not going anywhere. So Prabhupada says, except for Mr. Nair, he has to stay here. And Prabhupada writes in a purport in the Caitanya Charitamrita in relationship to the song, Gaurangera Dyutipada. Don't read this purport. You'll never be the same. Don't even try to look it up after I tell you a little bit about it. And don't use AI to find it. Because he says there, pursuant to the meaning that Narottam Das Thakur gives in the song, don't listen to that either. That it's not just the associates of Lord Chaitanya when they were present who are Nitya Siddha. He said it's also the present devotees who are associates of Lord Chaitanya spreading the Sankirtan movement. They're also Nitya Siddhas. So what? So, yes, that was Prabhupada's liberal vision. And there's a schematic that you can find in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So it's extremely interesting about finding faults. And he points out how there are levels of people who are either expert at finding faults, they're so expert, the topmost fault finders can find fault in somebody who has no fault whatsoever. And on the other side, the most highly elevated devotees, they can find a good quality in people who have none. It's like, that guy? And in fact, in ISKCON, Prabhupada let everybody in, even crazies. Of course, he didn't want laziness crazies, he said, but they got in. And, if anybody complained and said, who let that guy in? Everyone could look at you and say, who let you in? And Prabhupada did. He let everybody in because he wanted that channel. It was Lord Nityananda's channel. He wanted to go out to everybody, and he knew the potency, and he didn't hold back. He didn't restrain. He wanted to go everywhere. That's the principle that drives our movement. We should think in terms of how to bring that channel to more people. How can we expand? That's the principle. And after that comes, how do we manage the results of that? Thank you for your comments, and thanks for walking the earth, by the way. Let's see if there's a few more.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
So,
thanks to your mom. She's amazing.
Thank
That's
you,
all
Guru
I'm going to
Maharaj.
say. Hare Krishna. Go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna. So I have a reflection. I've just put it down on notes. It's easier for me to coherently speak. So yesterday, after our evening class was over, I went back home. I was checking my work messages, and a colleague had sent me an article on Slack. It said something big is happening. And it's apparently one of the most read articles online right now in 2016. While I was reading about it, I just murmured to myself, AI is taking over everything. So
Wow.
Nadia, she was sitting right next to me, and she overheard the title and my murmuring, and she kept asking me, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by AI is taking over everything?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I first told her, well, I don't know how to explain it to you. You're too young for that. But you know how kids are, they kept insisting. So I thought about it and said, imagine you have a magic box, and that is getting smarter every single day. And a long time ago, it could only do simple things like add 2 + 2, 3 + 3, And then it learned how to draw pictures, it learned how to write stories, but lately something happened. The magic box started learning how to build other magic boxes. And she was like, well, what? And I thought perhaps that was a bit too much for her. So I tried another example. I said, imagine you are playing a game where you draw something like a cat, and AI tries to guess what it's while you are drawing. It's kind of a pattern spotter. And then she immediately asked, well, will it guess Krishna? I laughed and I thought, maybe not really, because AI isn't conscious. But then I thought about it a little more, Guru Maharaj. I thought about how you are bringing us to these different places, to Haridas Thakur Samadhi, Toṭā Gopīnātha today, and to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Bhajan Kutir. And I realized it for the same reason, to train our minds to recognize those patterns. And you're training us to see Krishna as soon as he is there with no further delay. However, last night I also had a disturbing dream. I dreamt that I got into a fight with someone, and during the fight, I killed that person. And I woke up immediately and sat down and thinking, why would I kill someone? It was very disturbing. Then I realized the other side of this. There are also dark patterns embedded deep into our subconscious mind. And this is why Mahaprabhu has given us this Ceta Darpana Marjanam to cleanse the mirror of the heart. And I was meditating on what you said in yesterday's class, how much do we have to practice? You said, it's just not one word, it's two words, a lot. And I realized that if I don't take this opportunity to practice seriously, to change these deep patterns, the result will be what Narottam Das Thakur says, Janiya Suniya Bisa Khainu. I'm knowingly drinking poison. And there's this verse that comes to my mind, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Suddha Chita Karoy Udai. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It's not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. I realized that with the biggest difference between the magic box of AI and us, unlike the AI which starts empty and needs to be taught from scratch, the soul already knows Krishna. And the training we receive by visiting holy places and hearing from you, Guru Maharaj, is not to put something inside us, but to clear the dust so our original nature can shine through.
I had no idea you're so poetical and deep and articulate. Bali Mardan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have one question, that in this same one, the temple we went, Toṭā Gopīnātha, Caitanya Mahāprabhu has both distributed the holy name and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, but he has not distributed Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam profusely, because he has discussed Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam because his daily routines, he goes to Sarvam Bhattacharya, he has his prasadam, Jagannath Puri, then he goes to take bath and take rest, and then does discuss the Bhagavatam with Gadādhara Paṇḍita, and only very few confidential devotees. In general, it has not been practiced. He either sings the Hari Haraya Nama or Hare Krishna mantra in the public, or give a general concept of God, but never open up his mind of discussing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So my question is, considering the basic tenets for Caitanya Mahāprabhu has set it up, how do we want to generalize people, those who have no access to Bhagavatam and those who have no idea? And if you give these books, they may be offensive or something like that. So considering what is his mind, why he did not do so, and why we wanted to do more generalized to the people in general who has no idea at all. So would you like to describe something?
Yeah. Actually, Caitanya Mahaprabhu's entire teaching is the Bhagavatam. And he parsed it in ways that people at their own levels could appreciate and understand it. What's more, he channeled it in such a way that it could be consumed by the whole world. As an example, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada talks about transcendental sound vibration, most particularly the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and how it descends from the spiritual world. This is also described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in the Brahma Samhita. Tate pe suchiram, etc. Natavenu nidadasya trayi murti maigati spuranti praviveshasu mukabjani swayambhuva. Talking about how Brahma hears the flute song. Natavenu nidadasya. And then he realizes it and then speaks it, and it comes out as the Kama Gayatri mantra. And then Prabhupada extends that. Were you going to say? Okay. He extends that to say that actually the Hare Krishna mantra is the flute song of Sri Krishna. Everything's in there. Caitanya Mahāprabhu's genius, understatement of the millennium, is that he was able to put together a framework of the Bhagavatam that everyone could, that would assist everyone in being able to practice the Bhagavata principles, including people all over the world. He demonstrated when he went to South India, giving his system to people, that, as he told the Brahmana at Kurmakshetra, this is enough, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You just clap your hands, come together in your home and do this process. And of course, he gave that knowing that it was the essence of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and it could be consumed by anybody everywhere. And he wanted it distributed to every town and village. There's nuance within the Bhagavata system, some of which we just briefly touched on about different deities and Sambandha Prayojana, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, and so forth. All that is included in his teachings to Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, where he gives the framework and then he essentializes it so that everyone can understand it. He was profuse in his teachings. He empowered his disciples and instructed them to write. So why write unless you're going to distribute? Every author wants a book to go out. I had an experience in the San Francisco airport, which lay fallow for many years because we used to run free in all the airports. We could even go through security and do whatever we wanted until the terrorists ruined it for everybody. And then we were at San Francisco airport said, you can only work behind a booth. And we said, well, forget that. We run free, we don't work booths. And then after years of leaving it alone, one devotee went out there and said, it's bigger than anything. We started working in that airport. Had this booth in the middle of the airport in an international terminal. And one day I was talking to this young man from Taiwan, and he bought a copy of the Upadeshamrita. And he zipped it in his bag, and then I saw him get on the plane, or at least walk down to the gate. And I was just meditating on Ter Kadamba in Vrindavan and how Rupa Goswami had been instructed by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu to essentialize all the teachings. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipanosha Dharma Samstapako. Why? Loka Nam Hitakarano, for the benefit of all the people. Hita means do good. For who? Lokanam, everybody. Try to make it available all throughout human society. So he empowered his representatives to do that. They were perfectly qualified for that. And I was thinking, what would Rupa Goswami think right now? Would he have conceived of an airport like this? And how about his book in paper form, not on palm leaves? And that some kid from Lafayette, California, was selling his book in an airport to a guy from Taiwan who got on an airplane Of course, they had vimanas back then, or way back. But it's all Lord Chaitanya's plan, that he had this vision that the Bhagavat culture could go all over the world. He preached about it. And we find such admonitions in the Caitanya-bhāgavata that it should be given all over the world. It's our mission statement, practically. Every town and village. How many times have we heard that? And so the ways of meting it out to people, that's done by the acharyas, as Prabhupada says, time, place, and circumstance. And we have these visionaries in our line coming from Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, who saw fit to weaponize all of these things and make sure they went out into human society. Bhaktivinoda Thakur thought everybody's got to have this, so write songs like Narottam Das Thakur did, because musicians, you know, I'm really happy to say I don't know who Bad Bunny is. I have no idea. I was so ecstatic when I read a thing about, well, I see you don't either, that some guy who sang at the Super Bowl. You don't even know what that is, probably. But in any case, I was thinking, I'm so happy I don't know who Bad Bunny is. But apparently millions and millions of people listen to his music, do they? And I don't know who he is. I'm so happy. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam, they all wrote Bhagavat in understanding, in songs. And they were so popular. Everyone wants to go see a musician and listen to their music. And there's something about, it's just natural. If you put a cat on a keyboard and play Chopin, he'll go, ah. You know, every living entity loves music. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu put it into a deliverable form, Bhagavat in deliverable form, and the acharyas made it into songs to go out to everybody, everywhere. And then with Yukta Vairagya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta especially leaned into it, because he saw that printing press, make the books available. It's literary kirtan. It's written down. It penetrates more deeply. It goes more places. And he called it Brihat Madanga. And so Caitanya Mahaprabhu inculcated this into the hearts of his disciples. That's what Srinivas Thakur's song talks about. And he also showed by his example. Why did he go preaching? When he left Navadvip, when he left Puri, it's described by Krishna's Kaviraj that that's when the preaching Shakti came in. And he started spreading it to everybody. Hey, he's walked around barefoot for 6 years, going to every door. Should do that in New York. Try to cover every door. So it's there, it's the foundation of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. And at the same time, he discriminated, as did the acharyas, about who could listen to what. And they're very careful about sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana, and giving the medicine to people in such a way that they can appreciate it. That was sort of a free form, tossing everything out at you, but that's my answer. And we've come to the end, and I still didn't say anything about Shiva. Hara, and Krishna is known as Hari, comes from the same root, Shri, which means one who takes away. And find that Lord Shiva is a heroic figure, even within the Bhagavat, because he saves the whole universe from poison. And Shukadeva Goswami mentions him when he says, Tapyante lukatapena sarava prayasojana parama aradanam taddi purushasya akilatmana, which is that he said, great souls like Shiva, they perform austerities, tapyante, lokatapena, for the people of the world. And he said, when you do austerity to save people in the world, then you're known as the greatest, you're doing the greatest service. Aradanam, parama aradanam, means the best service that you can do. And in that in the context of the Daksha Yagya, he's also called Hara. But the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam puts him in a very important position that he's Vaishnavalam Yata Shambhu. Many people worship Lord Shiva as a competing god or something like that. Who was with us when we were just in Mysore? The funniest thing happened. You know, I got on this kick of going to see the sunrise every day, because I have to see the sunrise. So we were staying at Vaikuntha Nayaka's house. Nirkula, you know what I'm going to say? So, yeah, we went with a group, and we had to walk a while to find the perfect vantage point to watch the sun come up. And so we're standing in the middle of this field, huge field. Nobody else around. And did our Gayatri, standing there chanting a little bit, and we see this guy tooling along on a little scooter. And he drives up to us. There was about 7 of us there in the middle of the field. He comes up and he goes, Shiva, number 1. Krishna, 2. So what did we do? We pulled the old hand him a lollipop, hand him a sticker. It was so funny because even as we were doing it, he kept saying, shh. And so we're interacting with him with the books and everything like that. And then he just kind of like in a trance, he pulled out money and he gave it to us. And he took away a book that had Krishna on the front cover. But it made me more aware that people have this misconception about Shiva, how he's a competitor. You know, like you like Apple, I like Microsoft or something like that. But actually, Lord Shiva is the great servitor of the Lord, and that's all straightened out in the Bhagavatam. You have the story of Tripurari when he tries to kill the city of the demons, and they keep coming back because, what's the name of that architect who can do anything? Huh? No, not Vishwakarma. Maidanava. He makes these pools of nectar, Mrityu Sanjivani. I tried to find some when I was a brahmachari. I was going to drink it and live forever. But they kept telling me, you got to go to this shop over here and that shop. We found some, but anyway, what can be done? And so they kept coming back to life. And then Krishna had to come and assist Lord Shiva. So he works it out like that. The Bhagavatam works it out to show Shiva's mood of being Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, the great. I said I'd say something about Lord Shiva. Yesterday was Shivaratri. So now we have cake, right? And tomorrow we're going to, and you'll hear about it in a minute. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Sri Pañca-tattva, Sri Toṭā Gopīnātha, Lalita Vishaka, Balaram, and Revati. If you so desire, please always let us remember your pastimes here in the Dham in our minds. Let us be overwhelmed by the emotions that Caitanya Mahāprabhu left here in hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so that we all always desire to be in the association of pure devotees and constantly hear the pastimes of the Lord. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer, can have some cake. Haribo. Shraddha Devi Dasi, you tell us what we've won. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for the wonderful lecture. So since Guru Maharaj talked about the cake, maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that. So it's always an interesting topic. So we had mentioned on the opening day that there are 2 devotees who are sharing their birthdays. On 15th of February, we celebrated the birthday for Prem Nishta Mataji, and also for birthday of Harivardhan Prabhu. He's from the UK team. So they'll be joining us momentarily, so we'll have a small cake cutting ceremony. And everybody who agreed with Guru Maharaj's prayers will get a piece there. So what we have tomorrow is the trip to Lord Jagannath Temple in the morning, where we will do Harinam outside the temple. And we'll do a massive book distribution outside. Our book distribution team is super excited, and they have been working really hard on planning this book distribution. So we'll hear more about that from Chuku's Venu Prabhu. Then also, the icing on the cake is we'll also go to Siddha Bakul. So it'll be a tight schedule tomorrow. We'll start as usual at 5:30 a.m. for the Tulsi Puja. We'll have Tulsi Puja, we'll have Japa, we'll have Guru Puja, Bhagavatam class, breakfast, but we'll kind of just squeeze it all in so that we get time to do Harinam and time to do Siddha Bakul also tomorrow, like that. And then in the evening, we'll have the evening class as usual. And we'll follow that by those of you who were not able to go to Jagannath Temple yet. We will take you to a trip inside the Jagannath Temple tomorrow. There's like in school, you have a teacher to student ratio. We also have a panda to devotee ratio. So you cannot accommodate more than X number. So if you have already visited a temple, then we'll prefer to take those who didn't have a chance to go to the temple at all. So I'll be reaching out to you tonight to prepare that list there. Maharaj, anything you wanted to add on our trips or Harinam and Siddha Bakul?
It's an international showcase for Harinam and book distribution. So coming together in a tight Harinam, especially one where you keep the tall in the middle so everyone can dance. If they go up and down too fast, I mean, certain times you can't help it. You go in ecstasy and you expand it, but keeping a really nice tall going so that the crowd will come in and start dancing and it's not too frenetic can be really helpful. And also, it's a fantastic place for distributing books because people are really attracted to seeing all the devotees chant. And then usually Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu is there on a table, and we also have book tables and great book distribution. And last year, the police, we put it outside the police station because somebody said it was okay. And then they came and kicked us out, but they asked us, do you have Bhagavad Gita in Oriyan, right? Oriya? And we said yes. So then this started the whole thing. All the police from up and down the street, they kept coming one after another, and they were all trying to get us down in price but we sold out all the Bhagavad Gitas to the police, even though they were saying, you got to go, but by the way, how much is this? So it's a dream to be out there to show off for Jagannath that we're here, we love you, we want to spread this all over the world, and we'd like to be your representatives. Please empower us. It's just the best of all circumstances for Harinam and book distribution.
Okay. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for that. So tomorrow is going to be a hot day, and so we need to make sure that we do a couple of things. And the first one is we keep ourselves hydrated, right? Remember to put on your sunscreens as well. And then once we come back, we'll wash our hands and use the spoon. Also, also wanted to mention that we are following the parampara here. I found a keychain with a room key. It doesn't belong to this hotel, though. So Manjul Kantha, this is for you for keeps. A key to the room there, if anybody has got that. So that is pretty much all that I had, except for Shamlangi Mataji is the birthday girl here. Okay. Yeah, Prabhu, we tried to locate the Prabhu. He's not here. So the Prabhu said we can celebrate his birthday in absentia. So we'll do that. Hari.
We're going to have cake in absentia. We should do that every night. I'm sure we can find somebody who has a birthday who's not here.
Oh, he's here? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic, Naz. It's double the joy. Thank you.
Okay.
Prem Nishtha and Harivardhan Prabhu. Guru Maharaj.
Your birthdays?
Yeah.
On behalf of all the yatris, we pray that. Wait a minute, you got to hear this. Prem Nishtha. We're making a prayer for you for your birthday.
Prem Nishtha, Harivardhan Prabhu, this side, yeah.
On behalf of all the yatris, we pray that Krishna gives you freedom of movement so you can always come back to the dhams and visit here again and again. And may Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda empower you more and more to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. And may come into your mind that the main purpose for your taking birth in this world is to prepare to go back home, back to Godhead, and may you be prepared in all ways to do that. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat, and happy birthday. Gaur Premanande Haribo. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana vanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.